Interest. You can read that. I'm not going to read it to you. I hate it when people read you something that is on the screen. We are on page, if I'm not mistaken, 233. And the font is, of course, Pokemon. So, money makes money. That's all there is to it. The bank has all of our money in Canada is in banks or with various other financial institutions. They use that money to build, buy, create stuff. When they build, buy, and create stuff, they get money. They don't have any money of their own. They use our money. For the privilege of using our money, they pay us for the privilege of using our money. That is what interest is. It's the easiest definition for it. Simple interest, just like it says, is a very simple concept. You can read this paragraph right here. Oh, my stupid little highlighter thing isn't lit up. You can read the paragraph right in the middle there. Your bank account, if you have one, is likely paying you simple interest. And we'll explain it in a minute. Simple interest is very easy. It is this. And now is when you might need to start writing. I equals PRT. And that's pretty simple. I is interest. P equals principal, which is how much money you start with. R is your interest rate. It's shown as a percent, but we use a decimal. And T is time in years. And you just fill in this 4 variable equation. Just like base times height, area, length times width, that's all you do. You just go through this and you fill it in. So, you see right there your bank pays 2%. What's that? That is your R. We don't use 2%. What do we use? 0.02. $500, there's your P. 1 year, there's your T. And you just fill it in. I equals 500 times 0.02 times 1 equals. And you would punch that in. Of course, you all know that 2% of $500 is... What's 10% of $500? 50. So what's 50 divided by 5? So it is $10. At the end of 1 year, you will have $10 in your bank account instead, or $510 instead of $500. Doesn't seem like much, but the more money you put in there and the longer you leave it there, the more money you make. We will do a couple of calculations very soon, and you will be shocked at how much money you can have in the bank, putting very little in the bank now. What's different about B?
It's only 45 days.
So what changes? The T. This cannot be 45. This is 45 over what?
365.
365. What if I did it for a month? What would it be?
Like a month at a time.
Yeah. One a month?
45.
If I did it for a month, 1 over 12. What if I did it for a week? 1 over 52. Everybody cool? What if I did it for 6 months? Half. Everybody good? I don't need to talk anymore about this, do I? It's a 3 variable equation. You can all do it, right? Okay. So let's just write the equations. We don't need to do the work. I equals $500 times 0.02 times 45 divided by 365. And then you would punch that into your calculator. We're all good, right?
Yeah.
6 months. This is different. Heather invested some money, 5.5% to save money. She will earn $33. How much did she originally invest? I equals PRT. What's our I? We do not know. Or sorry, we know our I. What's our I? I. What's our R?
The 5.5%.
There's our R. What's our T? 6 months. We're missing P. So we would fill it in. 33 equals P times 0.055. Kids always screw that up. They say it's 0.55. It is not. You divide by 100. And this is 1/2. Or, of course, 0.5. Then you would solve for P. Can everybody do this?
Yeah.
Good. Next thing, bank accounts. Banks pay interest at the end of the month. If you have a bank account, you notice at the end of the month you have some money in it. Maybe you get a few cents. I get about $1 in interest on all the accounts that I use every month. Because money's going in and out of them, right? There's no saving there. So, they pay according to the minimum monthly balance. Why is it the minimum monthly balance? Because that's the amount of money that was in your account that they could use to do other stuff. Right? If I put my entire paycheck and my wife's entire paycheck for the entire month in the bank, it is quite a bit of money. But the bank doesn't have access to that because I use that money all month, right? They only have access to the smallest amount I leave in there. So, got a question like this. April 1st, she deposits $8,000 or $850.25. Is that a credit or a debit to her account? She deposits into her account. It would be a debit from her pocket, but for her account, what would it be? Credit. Her account's going up, yes? So this is a plus. Did she already have money in there? How much? So that's another plus. What does she do on April 10th? That's a minus. What does she do here? That's a plus. What does she do here? That's a minus. So you would find the minimum monthly balance, which is the lowest money she has in her account, and that would be P, is the lowest amount. The rate, 0.03, and the time, 1 month. What would the time be? 1/12. And then you would just run it through. Now, this will give me an interest, right? What will I do with that interest? Add it to the final balance. Does everybody understand? I should not have, with grade 11s, to show you how to add and subtract all these numbers, should I? Yeah. This is the only part that needs any description, yes? All right. Now, turn the page over. This is the interest that you care about. This interest is the interest that is killing the Canadian economy. This is the interest that makes the average Canadian owe more than $1 for every dollar they earn. Does everybody understand what I'm saying? If I earn $1 as an average Canadian, I owe more than that to somebody else. So am I making any money? No, even though I work. So, simple interest, you get your interest, that's it, it's over. So if I put $500 in the bank at 10% per year, what's 10% of 500? 50. At the end of the year, I have $550. Everybody understand? That interest is mine, and that's it. It's over. The next year, I have $500 in the account. They give me 10% of $500 the next year. It's another $50. Does everybody understand? It grows, but doesn't grow very fast. So let's do that right now. So we're going to use 8% interest rate. You know what? Screw it. We're going to use a 10% so we can do it in our heads. All right? We're going to start with $1,000. What is 10% of $1,000? $100. How much money do I have at the end of the year? $1,100. Everybody agree? Now, I keep that $100. That's mine. Everybody cool? The principal doesn't change. So what are they going to give me this year? Another $100. How much money do I have? 1,200, yes? Because they've added me another 100. Everybody agree? Okay, and we would continue this. Our principal stays at 1,000. We get $100, 1,300. Everybody cool? Okay. Now come over here to compound. This is different. I'm going to start with that same $1,000. I get $100 interest. Everybody cool? So now I have $1,100, yes? Now, in compound interest, if I leave this in the bank now has $1,100 of my money to use, doesn't it? So my principal becomes $1,100. Now I get 10% of that, which is what? 110. And now here I'm at 1,210. That goes down here. Now I get $121. And I go up to 1,341. Now I get $134. And I go up to 1,475. And that comes down here. And now I get $147. Should be $147.50, but we're just doing it in our heads, right? And then I would add that to get $1,500, $1,628. And over here, $1,400, $1,500, $100, $100. So in simple interest, I earned $500. In compound interest, I earned a crap ton more, didn't I? 5 and 7 is 2, 1, 3, 6, 0. Carry the 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. $602 in interest. Everybody understand? Sounds great when you're saving, right? But it's the exact same thing when you're borrowing. So when you borrow money, you pay back interest compounded. So it works both ways. Everybody cool? All right. Now, normally I would do a big deal here about why this works, but I'm just going to give you the formula because we're running out of time. Split this page. Simple. I equals PRT. Easy peasy lemon squeezy, yeah? Compound, slightly different. A, that stands for total amount. The simple interest gives you an interest rate or an interest value, and then to find your total amount, you have to I plus P equals our total, right? Over here, you get the total amount. So if you want your interest, it's A minus P equals interest. Then we come back to here. It starts the same principle. Now, our principal is going to multiply by our rate, right? Because we have to know what our percentage is, yeah? But we get to keep adding the original principal. So principal is going to multiply by 1. That's itself, because we get to keep that every time, plus our rate. Everybody cool? And that rate is going to be to an exponent of t now. Now, there's a couple of extra little numbers in here. Put an n there and an n there. We know what PRT is. N equals the number of compounding periods. So, if you have a credit card, now that's a bad example. Some investments and some loans, you pay your interest more than once in a year. You could pay it daily, which means N would be 365, because it's 365 days in a year. You could pay it monthly. What would N be? 12. You could pay it weekly. N would be 52. You could pay it semi-annually in a half year. So N would be 2. Right? And on the next page, we have a whole chart about that. So annually, how many times you get your interest in a year? Once. Semi-annually, twice. Quarterly, 4 times. Monthly, 12 times. Weekly, 52. Daily, 365. Okay? Now, we could do all our values here, but I don't think we're gonna. We're gonna run through this equation a few times. Again, we're gonna set up the equation. I'm not gonna do the answers. Chris invested $6,500, 5 years, compounded semi-annually, and received that interest. What was the rate? So we remember, A equals P times 1 plus R over N to the Tn. So what can we fill in here? Do I have an A? I have a principal. There's P. Do I have an interest? Yeah, interest is right here. So do I have an A? Because A equals principal plus interest, right? So do I have an A? Okay. Do I have an R? No. Do I have a T? How long? Do I have an N? How long? So 2, right? Then we would just fill this in. 6,500 plus 2847.62 is 8,500, 9,347.62. Equals 6,500, 1 plus R over 2 to the what? 5 times 2, right? 5 years, twice a year. Then you would just solve this equation and get R by itself. By this point in your math career, I should not need to do this to tell you what R is. You should be able to do the algebra to do that. Is everybody cool? It's just 2 formulas, right? Now, I want to cross off some of this work. You can do all of page 236 if you want to practice. 237, don't bother with. It's the same stuff. 238, don't bother with. Yeah, skip everything to 239. Okay, do a few right now while I print off the next thing that I want to show you. Run a few of those equations. Use your calculators. Hit the button that says apps, the purple one. And there should only be finance. It's possible you have a bunch because people mess with these calculators. We want finance. So we're going to hit number 1, and here is finance. We want the TVM Solver. So we're going to hit enter, and then we get this page right here. All these things. You can see that, yes? Everybody's looking at this now, yeah? Now, all of these things are what we already know. All right? N is payments. Now, if you're taking a loan, the payments are how many times you pay the bank till it's paid off. All right? If you're investing money, it's the amount of times you put money into the investment. Okay? So, for example, if you're investing money in your retirement, maybe you put a little bit of money in every month. Right? Which means you would make 12 payments per year, 120 payments over the course of 10 years. Everybody cool? So that's number of payments. That's easy. Interest rate. Now this is weird. When we're doing our regular calculator, we have to enter it as a decimal, yes? But on this, we get to enter it as a percent. PV, present value principal, I got that right there. Payment value, that is an amount. So, if I'm investing $100 a month into my retirement, right, I would make 12 payments a year, but my payment would be 100. Everybody cool? Yeah. Future value, that's our goal. So if I'm saving up for retirement, my future value is going to be a big number, yes? If I'm paying down a loan, my future value will be what? 0, because I'm trying to get to 0. Everybody understand? So if I'm saving up, my principal is nothing, because I'm starting from nothing, and my future value is going to be a big number. If I'm paying a loan, my principal value is up, and I'm working down to 0. Everybody cool? Number of payments per year. I'm paying every month for my retirement, so what would I put there? 12. Compounding periods, we've already talked about that. If it's compounded quarterly, how many in a year? 4. All right? And end beginning. That's a little bit weird. It's a little tough to explain. It depends on when you get your interest. So, if I'm saving up my money, does the bank want to give me more or less interest? Less, because they want to keep as much money for them as themselves, right? So they would pay their interest at the beginning of the month, before I've put my money in. Everybody understand? What if I'm paying down a loan? Do they want to take as much from me as possible? Yeah. So they charge the interest when? Actually, it's the other way around. I just screwed that up. They want to take as much from me as possible, yeah? So they charge me my interest at the beginning, before I've made a payment. Everybody cool? Now, the only one that causes problems here is payment value. And this is how you have to think of payment value. If the money is leaving your pocket, it is negative. Does everybody understand that? Okay? So, when I save up money, is the money leaving my pocket? So it is a negative payment, even though it's going into the bank. Everybody understand? If the money is coming into my pocket, then it's a positive. Everybody cool? It doesn't really matter. The machine does the work for you, as long as you understand it. Okay, and we'll talk about it in a second. So we are actually going to use this a little bit, and we're actually going to fill this out. So let's look at the first one. So, use the TVM Solver to find the length of time it will require to pay off a loan. So, length of time. I don't know how many payments this is going to take, right? So, do I know my N? No. So, we got to leave that blank. Okay, we're going to put 0 there. Do I know my interest rate? What is it? So, N gets a question mark. 3.2. Let's fill it in here. Present value. How much did I borrow? $17,500, yes? And did that go into my pocket? Like right now, do I have $17,000 in my pocket? So if I go to the car store, can I buy a car? No. So this is coming into my pocket, yes? So it's a positive $17,500. Payment, what are my payments? $500. Are those payments leaving my pocket? So what do we put? What's our future value going to be? What are we trying to get to? 0. How many payments a year? 12. How many compounds a year? They're going to compound my interest monthly. How many times will they do it in a year? 12. And our payment is coming at the what? Beginning or end? Do I make my payment before they charge me interest or after? After. Now come over to here and fill this in. Our interest was 3.2. 3.2. Our present value was $17,500. Our payment was negative $500. Our future value is 0. Our payments per year is 12. Our compounds per year is 12. And we are at the end. Everybody agree? Now, here's how you do this. See how I don't know my payment number, right? I go up there and I push alpha, solve. How many payments do I need to make? 36 full payments and then an extra little one, right? 36 full payments, and we're going to talk about how to figure out the extra little one later. Payments plus a partial. So for our purposes, we're going to write 36.8 payments. Everybody cool? All right. Now, let's do a more happy one where we're saving up money. Bob places $500 every 6 months into an annuity, compounded semi-annually. What's the value after 10 years? All right. So he puts the $500 every 6 months, right? So how many times a year? 2 times a year times 10 years, yeah? Now, so number is 2 times 10. Now, if you want, you can actually put operations in number. You don't have to do the math in your head. Go for Myers. Morning. Yes. Sure. Kyle, Miss Thompson would like to see you about a course change. You may go at any time because, of course, this is being recorded. So 2 times 10, or we could just enter 20 there, right? You can, if the number is big, you can put an operation in there. Like if I was paying once a month for 25 years and you can't do 12 times 25 in your head, right? You may want to use an operation there. Everybody cool? What's my interest rate? 6. What did I start with? 0. What is my payment? Is that leaving my pocket? So, my future value. That's what I want to see, yes? Payments per year? 2. Compounds per year? 2. And when are they going to give me my interest? At the beginning, before I make my payment. Now let's fill it in. 20, 6, 0, future value, I don't know. Payments per year 2, compounds per year 2, and we're getting it at the beginning because we're saving. Alpha solve. How much money will I have? $13,838 and 24 cents. Yes. Not bad at all. So we're going to skip a few because there is a retirement one in here. We're going to work. You can try number 20 if you want, but we're going to go to number 21. So, Jim finishes university at the age 25. You people are getting close to that. Please pay attention to this. Opens a savings account paying 10% compounded annually. No savings account gives you that much. But for our purposes, I'm going to say it is. Consider it to be all of his investments. Yeah, that's what I just said. No, for a savings account, that's not realistic. But if all of his investments are paying him 10%, that would be good. Okay? And it doesn't matter if it's realistic, because whatever, the point, you'll see in a second what I mean. 10% just works easy, we can work with it. So, thanks to his new job, Jim adds $200 to his savings at the beginning of every month. Yes? How much will be in his account when Jim retires at age 55? How many months in a year? So he's going to make 12 payments a year, right? How many years from 25 to 55? 30. You can easily do these in your head. 30 times 25 is no, not even. 30 times 12, sorry, is our N, right? Now, that's 360, but some of you aren't so hot at that, so we're going to write it in. What's our interest? 10. What's our present value? What do we start with? 0. Our payments? They're leaving our pocket. Future value is what we don't know. How many times a year are we paying? 12. How many times a year are we compounding? 4, because it's quarterly, right? And the payment, since I'm saving up, is going to be at the beginning of the cycle. Fill it in and look at how much money this guy could have in the bank if he only puts $200 a month away. Somebody's already got it. That is true. It's absolutely true. Alpha solve. $447,918.71. Okay, that's at $100 a month. Or $100 a check, I mean, right? Because it's $200 a month. Most people get paid twice a month, right? Most people work 20 days in a month, right? $10 a day, right? The next time you buy something that is not useful and you spend $10 on it, think if you could live without it. And if you could, and you could live without it every single day for 30 years, you'd have $500,000. Now, please, How much of the savings account is interest? Well, he's putting $200 a month in, right? So he made 360 payments of $200, yeah? How much is that? I'm too lazy to punch it in. What is it? Because it's a pain on my calculator. 272,000?
Just 72,000.
Oh, just
Yeah,
360 times 200? 72,000 is what he had to save. How much of it's free money?
a lot.
Yeah. All right. Now let's look at this idiot. Graduates at the same time and says, "Woohoo! I'm living life. I'm going to Bali every weekend." Let's see what happens with our good friend Jared, who starts 10 years later. So he's going to make how many? He's going to make a lot fewer payments, right? It's going to be 12 times 20 now, yeah? And everything else is going to be the same. Present value 0, payment negative 200. 12 for beginning. Now you guys can do this way faster than me because this calculator is a pain. 240.
Ooh, Jared. Jared, you know how, like, have you ever met the Jared who didn't work at Sunlight?
$300,000 less dollars. Now, what's the point of this unit? Is the point of this unit to teach you how to use these calculators?
To tell us to save money. Invest as soon as you can.
Start early. No amount is too small to start with. Every single one of you that has a job right now should already have an RRSP, and you should be putting $25, $30 every check into it. If grandma is giving you $100 for your birthday and $100 for Christmas, invest it. It sounds stupid, and you don't want to invest it because you people are used to instant gratification. You find that Pokemon right away. But please notice,
I don't like the sun. Wait, what's the average investing?
if Jared wants the same amount as Jim, but wants to start at 35, so what would change here? Our final value, right? The unknown is how much he has to start saving, so the payment would be the question mark, right? And then we could do the rest. Is everybody cool? All right. Let's talk about mortgages. And then we're going to stop because credit cards take a whole day. But mortgages, loans, and savings are all pretty similar. Now, ladies and gentlemen, if you choose to buy a place to live, a house, a condo, a townhouse, an RV, a trailer in a trailer park, I don't care. It is going to be the most expensive thing you buy. Unless you're like one of these crazy rich guys who's buying like $250,000 cars. If you're going to buy a Lamborghini, you could feasibly have a car that costs more than a house. Everybody understand? But for the average person, a house is the biggest purchase they are ever going to make. Houses were cheap when I was your age. When I was your age, I could buy a house in Chilliwack for under $100,000. Now a house in Chilliwack is worth $550,000. A house in Abbotsford when I was your age, maybe $100,000, not under, maybe $100,000. A house now $750,000, $800,000. My house in Vancouver in 1990, not my house because we were poor as ass, my grandpa's house that he bought for $26,000 in 1960 something, $24,000. When he died in 1990, it was sold for $700,000. Now, in Vancouver, it would be well over $1 million. My piece of crap house in Chilliwack, if I jacked it up, drove it to Vancouver, and had it on a piece of land in Vancouver itself, not Burnaby or any crap like that, actual Vancouver, would be worth well over $1 million. So, houses are expensive. Now, in the rest of the country, I lie, in 90% of the rest of the world, it is not like that. I could buy a beach house in Ecuador for $80,000.
Or like a mansion in Texas.
Yes. Yes. A lot of America is much cheaper. It's very fun. There's a lot of websites out there. How far will my $400,000 house take me in France? You can buy small castles, right? But whatever. Mortgages are both complicated and simple. All right? This paragraph explains everything you need to know about a mortgage. There are lots of ins and outs and upside downs and lots of complicated stuff, but essentially this is what you need to know. There's laws about it. Those laws change all the time. When I bought my house, you were allowed to get a 30-year mortgage, and you only had to have a 5% down payment if you were buying your very first house. That has changed. You need a 5% down payment if it's your very first house, but you can only get a 20 or 25-year mortgage. I can't remember. Right? And that's because down in America they had a financial collapse because people that couldn't afford mortgages were getting mortgages. And then the banks got messed up because the banks were selling the mortgages to other banks. It was really evil down there. Totally evil. Canada's not like that because the government controls our banks.
Oh, they do? That's wrong.
Yes, that's why you can go to a bank in Goose Bay, Newfoundland, and get your money out. It's more difficult in the States. All right, so you can read all this. I'm not going to do all that for you. You don't need to. But there's some words in there you should know. The word amortized, mortgage, right? It also is French for death, but whatever. That's how long you take to pay the mortgage back. Typically, mortgages are repaid monthly, so you pay monthly. I pay bi-weekly. I pay every 2 weeks because then I can pay 26 times a year instead of 12 times a year or even half month, 24 times a year. I can make more payments on it, so I pay it off sooner because I pay it off every paycheck. Well, it used to be every paycheck. Now I get paid twice a month, but I pay the mortgage every 2 weeks. So some months I had to pay the mortgage 3 times, and that's a bit of a pain. This is something you need to know. Even though you borrow the money for 25 years, they break it down into, if you're lucky, 5-year chunks because they can't see the future, right? They don't want to say, I'll give you a 2% mortgage for 25 years. They don't want to do that. And then you can just read all that. Now, this is kind of important. Our mortgages in Canada have to be annually or semi-annually. They can't charge you daily interest on your mortgage. Because at the beginning, that would be a colossal amount of money, right? If you borrow $1 million and you're paying interest every single day, and that interest compounds on top of itself, you'd be in a big hole really quick. So it's annually or semi-annually. Typically, which means almost always, it's semi-annually. All right? And we make our payments at the end. Why at the end? Because they want to add the interest before you make a payment. Everybody cool? They have to make money. The only way anybody could afford to buy a house was if there were banks around. So, but after that, nothing changes. All right, it's the exact same thing, yeah? So, here we go. Gino has $25,000 he's saved up. Good job, Gino. On a $425,000 house. So he's buying a piece of crap in Chilliwack. Right? Or he's buying a pretty nice house in Hope. Or he's buying a pretty nice house in Kamloops. Or he's buying a super awesome house in Williams Lake. Or you get what I'm doing, right? The further you are away, the further your money goes. Yeah, in Vancouver, you're getting a bachelor suite, maybe, where your bed is in your kitchen. And your bathroom has a curtain around it, and you can see the toilet. If you're lucky. Yeah, you keep your bedroom clean?
Yeah.
Oh, do you? Okay. All right. So, dude is paying over 15 years. So 15 times 12, because he's paying monthly, yes? 15 times 12. What's his interest rate? 7. Present value. How much did dude borrow? He borrowed $400,000, yeah? So that came into his pocket, right? So is that positive or negative? Positive. 400,000. What's his payment? That's what we got to find. So we leave that as 0 right now. Future value, what's he trying to get to? 0. How many times he paying a year? 12, because he's paying monthly. And what's his compounds per year? Semi-annually is the Canadian average. 2. And when do we do the payment cycle? At the end. Let's go find out what his payment is. Some people already have.
Yes, okay,
3,572.90. Well, it's actually 3,573, right? A month. To pay it off in 15 years. Everybody cool? Seems like a lot of money. Right? What changes if we go to 25? Which of these numbers is going to change in our calculation? The n. It's not going to be 15 times 12. What is it now? 25 times 12. Does anything else change? No, so let's check his payment then. 2,801.66. Now, I have friends that go this route. They do nothing. They don't take vacations. They buy used cars. They don't go to movies. They don't get coffee. They don't go out to dinner. And they pay as much as possible to be off the hook in only 15 years. And I have friends that do this version, which gives you $700 more a month to go have fun with. 700 times 12 is $8,400 a year, yes? Now, this is where you have to be logical. How much money for his retirement did Jim have when he only put $200 a month into an account? It was like $450,000, right? These people could put $700 a month away for those 25 years. Does everybody see what I mean? It's a balance. Now, my friend would say, yeah, that's a great idea, but I will finish paying it off here, which gives me 10 years where I could deposit that every single month. Does everybody understand? What?
Wouldn't it be smartest just to mortgage your house until retirement and then sell your house, take
Yes.
all your money, and then
Of course.
just leave?
Yes. Of course. But there's a danger in that, putting all your money in your house. You don't know that houses are going to be worth anything, right? I mean, let's think about just BC alone, right? Where do most people in BC live? Vancouver, Victoria, right? Fraser Valley, like Metro Vancouver, Victoria, Kelowna, Kamloops, right? Those are the big cities. Agreed? Kelowna and Kamloops are always on fire every summer, right? Are we ever going to catch on fire? No, because it rains here all the time.
Yeah, but we're on the Pacific Ring of Fire.
That is true. That is true. So, what happens if climate change goes really south in the next 25 years and Kamloops burns every single year? Where are people going to want to come live? Here. So, our house prices are what? Fairly safe. Right? But no guarantees. Is everybody cool with this? Does everybody see what I'm talking about? I'm not trying to tell you what to do with your money. I'm trying to show you that you have all kinds of options, right? You are never forced to do something with your cash. These are two options. Lots of people could argue both of these effectively, right? I think I've argued them both pretty effectively, right? Like it's up to your own personal risk, right? And it's up to your own personal level of comfort, right? Jacob.
When the recession happened in America, like the housing recession, did the bank just repossess all the houses or what happened?
No, because the houses were worthless.
So when people got to
What happened in America is, I'm big bank. BB, big bank. I give mortgages to all of you. All right? You pay me back, everything's going nicely. Now, I say to myself, this is dumb. I'm going to take Jacob's mortgage, I'm going to split it into 10 little mortgages, and I'm going to sell them to other little banks. Right? So now you're actually paying some other little bank. And then they take your mortgage. It was a pyramid scheme. They take your mortgage, their little slice of it, and they slice it up 10 and sell it to a littler bank. Right? And the little bank stopped paying, which meant the middle-sized banks weren't getting any money, which meant I wasn't getting any money, which means it collapsed. That's very simplified. But that's essentially what happened. Because people had, housing prices were low, so everybody, hey, mortgages for everybody. And housing prices are still pretty low in America. But what happened was a lot of people ended up with their house being worth less than what they owed. Because builders, oh man, everybody can get a house and a mortgage. Let's build some houses. Right? Now we've got too many houses. It's all supply and demand, right?
I've heard there's more.
It's the same as milk in America. That's why milk is so cheap in America and why they want to get into Canada and why we should never have let them.
And the best idea probably if that happened to you would just be to wait because eventually it's going to get better.
Well, let me tell you a story of my friend. They bought $1 million house in Seychelles. Now it's sinking into the ocean.
That's not coming back.
All right. You could fill all this in. Loans are the same thing. They're just smaller versions of mortgages. And then we're going to stop there today. There's all kinds of practice you can do. Tomorrow we'll talk about credit cards because credit cards are a whole different thing.